Could you survive this? Hey everybody, this is Michael with Asymmetrical Preparedness. I'd like to kind of do an SHTF scenario series because there's a lot of different scenarios out there that people think might happen. Different ways to approach things and different causes for the event. SHTF, stuff hits the fan. That's to put it nicely. Well, if you think about it, we're really in SHTF right now. I mean, increased fuel prices, shortages, on the brink of war, all this stuff. So basically we're kind of there. It's just not a huge, major, overwhelming, total collapse, stuff like that. So there's a lot of different scenarios, like I talked about. There's a lot of different ways this can go down. First one, not the first one, but the one I'd like to start off with, I guess, would be EMP. A lot of people talk about EMPs. There's a lot of real information out there. There's a lot of false information out there about EMPs. What is an EMP? Electromagnetic pulse. It is a pulse coming from a coronal mass ejection, which is a solar flare, or from an exploded nuclear device in our atmosphere. What that does is it creates this electromagnetic pulse that comes down to Earth and fries electronics. Not electrical, but electronics, because electronics are very fragile, comparatively speaking, and much more subject to energy bursts and things like this, like we're talking about electromagnetic. So it's basically like electrical pulse. They can come down, and what it would do is overwhelm and fry electronics. A lot of people talk about the fact they think one of the fake things out there is that if EMP happens, like say an air burst nuclear over Seattle, I don't know, or say over the Midwest, that it would knock out everything in the United States. Well, that's not true, because it basically, wherever it is, point of origin, it goes out at a certain angle and it goes down. So it only covers a certain amount of area. It wouldn't wipe out the entire United States. The odds of that happening, maybe a massive solar flare, coronal mass ejection. Possibly might, I don't even think that's possible, but a lot of people think that if an EMP happens that all electronics, everything electrical, electronics and everything would be fried. Well, that's not the case, because if you think about it, point of origin here, straight down and, going out in a circle would be affected the most. Straight down would be affected the most. And then as it goes further from the source, it gets weaker. So not everything will be wiped out. And even maybe some things that are directly underneath the source might actually make it. You guys have maybe heard about Faraday cages. That is a metal container, usually lined with rubber or some other non-conductive substance that will protect whatever's inside from an EMP. Very good thing to have. You can use an old trash can, metal trash can, line it with some rubber floor matting or something like that, put stuff inside it, duct tape it up, seal it really well. Actually, the best thing to do instead of duct tape, use that foil tape, the metal foil tape. And or before you duct tape it, use tin foil or some kind of metal substance like that around the seal, around the edge of the lid, so that it makes a continuous metal barrier, and then duct tape it, and that will protect it. Or you can use a metal ammo can, or a safe, any kind of metal box or metal container. It doesn't have to be a box. So that's one way to protect it. Also, there are other factors, environmental factors, terrain factors, distance from point of origin factors, age of the devices, how sensitive they are to electromagnetic pulse versus not, because there are some devices that are more that are better able to or to not be affected by it anyway. So a lot of people talk about vehicles. They think every single vehicle is going to be fried. Well, that's not necessarily the case. First of all, prior to electronic ignitions and computers in vehicles, say late 70s and older, probably would be, they should be fine. They should be EMP proof because there's nothing to fry. Even newer vehicles though, like I said, there's a lot of factors that come into play. And you think, oh, well, a vehicle is a Faraday cage because it's all metal. Nah, not really the case. They may be more protected than, say, like if you're holding your cell phone out in the wide open, like I'm sitting here talking on my cell phone right now, and an EMP happened, okay, yeah, it would probably be fried. But there's a lot of factors. Not everything will be wiped out. So don't necessarily worry. Okay, so that's kind of what it is. That's kind of how it works. So what can you do to prepare yourself for this scenario? And I'm not saying you have to necessarily worry and only do this scenario. I like general preparedness. I don't like specific preparedness. I'm not going to only specifically prepare for an EMP or a pan, one of those demic things. No. Or nuclear war or anything like that. I'm not going to prep for any specific event. I prep broad range. I try to prep as well as I can for each and every one. So, how do I prepare for an EMP? Yes, certain things are kept in Faraday cages. Comms, ham radios, FRS, GMRS, those kinds of things. Data discs with manuals on them, books on them, family pictures on them, pictures of important documents on them, as well as a plethora of other information on them. And then also a spare cell phone in there. Why do you say that? You're like, oh, well, why have a spare cell phone? Because, the grid will be down, the cell towers will be fried, stuff like that. True. But you don't need cell towers to turn a cell phone on, put a disk in it, and read it. You don't need internet. You don't need service. You don't need anything other than power for that. So you could also put in some solar panels, some solar chargers, some battery banks in your Faraday cages. Also, those are some of the common things that people put in Faraday cages. So what I do, generally speaking, is that I prepare myself, my family, to not rely on anything electronic. My vehicles, it would be great to have them, especially my truck. It would be great to have my truck available, put the camper we just got in the back of the truck, hook up a trailer to it, throw in all of our preps, and head out. Okay, that's great. But I don't rely on it. I don't prep thinking that I'm going to have that. I don't count on it. I hope that I'll have it, but I don't count on it. I prepare myself and my family to live off-grid. Are we completely off-grid? No, we're not. We have a well, yes, but it's a really deep well, so you can't use a hand pump. So I would lose my well. After we drain the water in the like the standby tanks. So stockpiling water is really important for me. Also, knowing the availability of water. We got lakes all around here, streams, rivers, and even the entire Puget Sound if we want to desalinate water. So I'm not really worried about that. Although, if our vehicles didn't work and I had to go gather water, yes, it would be much more difficult. So like I said, I hope my truck works or my car. Odds are the truck would work before the car. But anyway, I can cook off-grid. I have a propane stove, propane tank. Okay, the electronic lighter won't work on it. So what? Just use a lighter, use a Bic. Turn it on, light it. Cooking, bam, there you go. My oven is electric, so I can't use that. But what I can do is I have propane grills, several propane the camping fuel stuff, camp stoves, as well as we have a wood stove that I can cook on top of. so I can provide heat. I can't provide air conditioning, but luckily I'm here in the Pacific Northwest. It does get hot. Got record highs last year of like 114 degrees. Record forever. Like never been that hot here before, ever. This year we've already seen, 94 degrees here, which is really hot for here. But we could survive without air conditioning. So my recommendations is if you have any kind of electronic equipment that you want to protect, then put it in Faraday cages. If you are planning to bug out and you need to bug out and you have to rely on that, you have to have a vehicle, well then get like a mid-70s or older vehicle. Get a truck, I would say 4-wheel drive, a truck or SUV. 4-wheel drive, long bed, quad cab, if you can get it, or a big SUV, full-size SUV. Because then you can actually have the power to get where you're going. You can actually carry a lot of stuff. Yes, those vehicles use more fuel. They don't get good fuel economy like our vehicles do nowadays. But you'll have them. So that's important. Like I said, have ways to cook. Have ways to do sanitization. Or sanitary stuff like showering, going to the bathroom, flushing the toilet, stuff like that. If you're on city water, city power, city natural gas, all this stuff, don't count on any of that working, except for maybe natural gas. Maybe natural gas might still flow, so you may be good there, but you may not be. The best way to go about prepping for an EMP is, like I said, just prepare as if you don't have power. Act like you're off grid. Start setting yourself up to be able to exist off grid. Get like standby power banks, generators, solar panels, stuff like that. But remember, some of those things have electronic components, so keep them in Faraday cages until you need them. Anyway, so I forgot here till later in the video again. If you guys really enjoy the content or you want to support preparedness channels, please subscribe. Please hit that thumbs up. Share the videos, comment below, all these things that help us as a community reach more people so that we can empower more people and turn more people into assets instead of threats. That's important because I care about you guys. I want us all to survive. Obviously not everybody's going to survive. I might not even survive. Who knows? You never know. All we can do is our best. We prep a little every day. We prep out of peace of mind, not out of fear, and we just do our best. So also, I want to talk about, so this is kind of the start of a series of scenarios. What can happen, how it can happen, why it could happen, what you can do about it. Because a lot of people, there's a lot of misinformation out there. And I don't know everything. So if I say something is incorrect, please correct me in the comments section. I'm not infallible. I'm not perfect. I don't know everything. But I love you guys. Please work on your preps. Please be more prepared tomorrow than you are today. I love you guys. Have a wonderful day. And blessings to you and yours.